You Adam separately, Jenny separately, and then you together as husband and wife and co-business owners, right? And ultimately the rest of it has to just like shake itself out, right? You guys, you're good humans. You're, like you said, you have a vested interest in actually keeping people alive as opposed to killing them. And you're, and it's just like you, at some point, this was a little bit of a hard thing for me where actually, and one of my members, I have a mastermind group and we do a lot of really cool shit together. But one of the guys was like, Danielle, you have to let go of counting the numbers of who's coming back. And you need to just do it in the way that feels good for you. And those people are going to come back or they're not going to come back, but you can't control that. And it's, and the other people in the town are going, luckily we have a lot of support and I don't probably have as nearly as much as you do in terms of like opinions about what we're doing. But in the end, it's true. It's like, sometimes I just have to take my head out of it and be like, what feels good here in my gut? And like, yeah, that I'm just going with that. Obviously I want to stay within the guidelines of, I don't want to get arrested, but that wouldn't help anybody.
And I think Adam, that's exactly how Adam feels. I am such a rule follower and a people pleaser. It's much more difficult.
I'm a recovering rule follower.
Oh my God. Well, I grew up, sorry, mom and dad, but this is true. I was raised to follow the rules no matter what.
Yeah.
Like really. And it's very difficult for me to do things that I feel like might get me in trouble or people might not like me because I make certain decisions.
Yeah, but you're married. You know what you can do? Here, we can do this right now, right together. We're going to have a little therapy session. You can practice this. Talk to Adam.
Yeah.
Adam's in charge. Like for once in your life, just let go of control and be like, it's his decision. Like he's the majority stakeholder.
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, if he's willing to shoulder that, I mean, really, it's temporary. You could put like a deadline on that, but like if he's willing to shoulder that, then you should just let it go. And because you're going to drive your shit crazy.
I know.
And she does. She does.
I do.
I have
sometimes.
Definitely showed her like a different part of what life is about. And she's exposed to it in a way almost like every day because she's living with me, right? So I grew up completely different. My story is too long for this
That would
podcast.
be another podcast.
I was going to say, we could do another episode.
Yeah.
Adam's got a great...
So
he's got a really interesting story, actually.
There's an interesting story behind
we
it
have
all.
time,
and so just to kind
Give
of
her a little background. It's a good story.
Quickly to explain it. So I was born in Hungary. Okay. Everyone who knows me, they like, being a German, which I am. As far as my citizenship goes, yes. So mom, Polish, dad, Hungarian, family, like my grandma, she's German. And and then we did the ancestry. So there's some Russian too and whatever, and 2% of whatever. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. So like a mutt, I feel, I'm not going to say I feel German. I never felt like I'm German. But that's where I spent the majority of my life. Well, that's about to change. But, from like age 2, was born in Hungary. My parents basically escaped socialism, and I grew up in Germany as a foreigner.
He was a refugee.
And being a refugee in Germany, where in Germany we have a lot of Germans, it's like very, very, very difficult. You're living a very hard life. You're never relaxed. You're like always on your toes. You always are in fights. People always call you out. You're always like the foreigner. It's bad. It's just like a very rough, tough life. And, my father, who basically escaped, brought us all, he wanted ultimately us to have a better future. So when that kind of all were starting to fall apart, he basically went back to Hungary. Then they basically put him in prison, treated him like a spy, which obviously he wasn't. So I lost my dad for like a couple years when I was very young. So my mom raised my brother and I in Germany. We're foreigners. My mom didn't speak a word of German without my dad. My dad was pretty much fluent in German. So here we are stuck in Germany. And so anyway, that kind of just made life very, very real for me, So I could only afford what the government basically gave us. My mom was always just working very, very hard for very little money. I mean, here we are today, 2020. My mom's income is 480 euros a month. That's today.
Yeah.
And that's today. I just want to remind people, this is today.
In 2020.
In 2020. So she doesn't have enough money to actually to live. But anyway, that's like what she gets from the German pension, or like as part of her retirement. So, but anyway, so I could only go to schools and free schools, and at age 15, I had 3 jobs. You were working at like this little like a pizzeria, and you were just helping there. So I was trying to get like a proper education. So I love cars, of course, easy, Germany, boom, cars, done.
Right.
You got your degree.
It's totally.
So you kind of did that. But as a mechanic in my first year, I made $150 a month. I'm sorry, 150 German bucks, which is about $75.
Yeah.
So you're a foreigner, your dad is not around, everyone is just hard on you. You get educated and everything. I mean, every day is work. There's not a day where you're like relaxed.
Right.
There's not a day where you can just make excuses. There's none. Can't make excuses.
Right.
So you just live this life, and at some point I got my first degree, like being just like a mechanic. It was like a mechanic school that I finished, and it was a little bit of passion, a little bit of fear. That's all we could do because it was free.
Right.
The government paid for that. That continued on. So I went to another school to get my master's in engineering, which is also a free school. So
German engineers are like rock stars. From 20 years of car racing experience.
I told him about your car experience.
That's
and,
right,
you guys have that in
NASCAR,
common.
which I actually want to talk about. So I'm like educated, but mostly just street smart.
Yeah.
And that just makes me who I am. So I totally believe in education. Absolutely. You've got to get educated. Right. But, when we're talking about like the American school system and college and all that bullshit, I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Just don't believe in it.
I'm on the same page.
I know it's
I'm
good.
Not lying. We might have like a little crush. I'm having a little
like
crush.
You guys are the same person, actually. I'm just sitting over here.
So, and because of the rule, no, just because being like exposed to raw life all my life, and because of all that journey that made me who I am today, it just really helps me, like I work hard. No. I don't work hard. I work very fucking hard every single day.
Yeah.
There's not a day where I rest or I don't think of work at the very least, even if I do travel. It's all about work. It's all about making things better, maintaining it, fixing things. So it's just, and my mom taught me that.
Right.
How did she teach me that? She lived by this example. She was working for nothing, hard labor, was like a city worker. She was like,
And she's educated too. I mean, she was a math teacher. She's incredibly smart. She speaks 5 languages.
Yeah.
His mom is a super educated, intelligent woman, and she had a job. There were no other women doing her job, right? No. She cleaned parks. That was the only job she could get in Germany when they moved there. So she was doing manual labor, and German winters are not fun.
No.
And she's out there cleaning parks, which is tough work.
Right.
And my parents had it good in Hungary, actually. They were not so bad.
Right.
Like, because they grew up, like my grandpa obviously was from there, Laszlo Kovacs. So, if you're like in your little town and you're there for generations, you become someone and, things are okay. They had their house, but, for a better future, they escaped all that, left everything behind. So, and then it was Germany being like very, very raw. But again, mostly for the most part, my dad was around, but, that was like a whole nother issue that we had in the family because, when you're treated like a spy in a communist country, you're not treated well.
Right.
And so that changed the dynamics at home also, which ultimately at some point turned into a divorce. And but my mom was not around. I was like, she woke me up. I remember she woke me up. She made the breakfast at 7:15. I'm sorry, at 6:45 a.m. She left to go to work. And I was at that point 8 years old. I had to get myself ready. Of course, my mom, she put my stuff out. You walked to school and you walked far.
Right.
Just to be very, very clear.
While I was an American and I did this all in America, I feel very like we had the same life.
Was it the same?
and I think
the desert.
It should have been. And so anyway, I had like this whatever life, education, this, that, had lots of love. I knew my parents, they just freaking loved me. Mm-hmm. And that fueled me, made me good. Experienced a little bit with alcohol, a little bit with drugs at a very, very early stage. Didn't like it, never got back to it. I just didn't want to waste my life on all this. I just couldn't depend on my mom. I had to work. It was not an option. Yeah. I had to work. I had to support my mom paying rent at age 16. That's just what it was. So that's the life I know, Yeah. So now here we are at 2020. I look around me. I'm like, I know this was tough for us. Right. Like really, let's get back to where we are today, 2020. And, I still remember like before we closed or maybe right after we closed, I told Jenny, like, don't you worry. I got this.
He did say that to me.
I'm like,
I'm swooning right now.
It was nice to have someone say that. And I believe him.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was just saying the words. Like he really told me, he looked at me because I was melting down.
Yeah.
And I was really scared and I was really sad. And he said, I got this. And it was great. But I also feel terrible that he has to be the one that has to get it.
But you know what? I would say that, back to that point is like you are in this together and you both bring different perspectives and different viewpoints. And how very little I know you together as a couple, but I can see that it's not just him saying, I got this. And you're like, okay, and you're sitting back and you're getting, you're painting your nails, but
no, it is true.
It's nice to know that somebody's got your back.
Yeah.
And that gives you the strength to take a pause, pull yourself together and be like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to work hard in my way. You work hard in your own way. And it's like, you're a team. Yes. So you're bringing something that he can't bring. And how great it is that you understand. It's not only that he said it to you, but that you believe it. And I'm sure that it's in reverse, it's the same.
And also, too, you're making like a very, very good point.
As I sit here and I cry because I have nobody to say, I got this. I'm just going to pour some more whiskey.
I'll tell you got this.
Definitely, there are like a couple things. It's just like, I always feel like, so first off about, all right, you, Jenny, say like, well, I feel bad because you're taking like all the shit. I'm like, it's fine. I'm so used to it. So it doesn't smell as bad over here. You know what I mean? So for me, it is a little bit like, oh, okay, yeah. All right, got it. It sucks. And I have my moments too. I really do.
Yeah.
But, it's like if I deal with it differently than many others would, or in this case, Jenny does. But, it's practice.
Right.
You practice life. Mm-hmm. And if you just practice certain challenges that you have in life, you master it.
Right.
You become really good. Mm-hmm. Like if she gets like a letter in the mail that says like, oh, final notice, whatever, she just does like saltos or whatever you guys call it, somersaults.
Saltos.
She like.
Wait, can you grab that wine that's up on the top?
She like loses her mind over it, just as an example. And I'm just like, all right, did you have to sign it? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, just throw it in the garbage. We'll deal with it later.
Right.
Because right now I need to focus on whatever things.
Priorities.
So priorities, which is very, very important.
Sure.
It's sometimes, like you get so caught up in these little tiny things. I'm like, just don't worry about this. You got big things ahead of
Right.
you. You gotta